How do? Welcome to Liquid Football. I'm Tenacious G, and I'm joined today by Yorkie Man and the Daz Man. We're going to be talking about a bit of a touchy subject. It's Arsenal and the redundancies. Just to start it off, I'm going to read out a little bit of a piece here. Arsenal redundancies, Gunners players frustrated at proposed job losses after agreeing to pay cut to preserve the staff roles. They've been made redundant. You know, a little bit further down, I've got a little piece here. It says a large number of Arsenal players agreed the 12.5% pay reduction, but the club chiefs have pressed forward with their plan to axe around 10% of their permanent staff regardless. Now, I don't know about you guys, I think it stinks a little bit. What do you think, Daz?
I agree with it one little bit. I think it's ridiculous. I think they obviously have a value to the club at some point, so why they don't have a value to the club anymore is beyond me. I don't know what these 55 vacancies could be. I don't know if they're the people that sell the pints. I don't know if they're physiotherapists. I don't know if they're data analysts. I don't know what positions they're at. But for me, it don't lie. I did speak to somebody today, a customer of mine, and I don't agree with this point. I'm just putting the disclosure out there. I do not agree with him whatsoever. But he tried making a point that to give a player an extra 100 grand, he would bring more income into the club than what the other 55 potentially could. So that's how he justified it. And he wasn't an Arsenal fan. He was a businessman that said at the end of the day, you know, that guy could potentially bring in 30, 40 million pound by scoring a goal in a final somewhere. And these other 55 don't. That probably couldn't. My view is completely different to that. But yeah, for me, no, it doesn't sit right with me. It's wrong.
What about you then, Matt?
I understand business is cutthroat and sometimes decisions are going to be made, but I just think this is an absolute joke. And to be honest with you, I was expecting Arsenal to kick on a little bit. I thought it looked good under Arteta. This is just a complete shock. If you make 55 people redundant, I don't know who's in charge of PR at Arsenal. Don't know who it is. Sack that fucker. Right? If you make 55 people redundant and then you're linked with William and fucking Coutinho, they're not cheap, are they? They're not taking little pay packets, are they? They're Mesut Ozils. They're taking big money. You make 55 people redundant. You've asked your players to take pay cuts. Your manager to take pay cuts. I think you just look like laughingstock. You look like a joke. It's a disgrace from the club. The idea that Arsenal don't have the money to keep these people on is just completely beyond me. The new stadium, the amount of money they must make, we get it. The climate is terrible, right? And if the climate is hurting you this much, don't sign these players that are going to be on 100 plus K a week wages. Just don't sign them. Don't sign them. If they'd have made 55 people redundant and no new players were coming in, you might be able to say to yourself, okay, not a problem. They're having struggles. But to be keeping these players on, they're talking about handing Aubameyang a massive new deal as well. Absolutely fine. But getting rid of these people because of the club's value or for any financial reason is just a lie. It feels like an excuse. No matter what you do at that club, from working in the grounds to the groundsman to pulling the pints to cleaning the kit, you're a member of that club and you're part of the team, and everyone helps that team succeed. Everyone. You can put weight on a player scoring goals and then being more important, blah, blah, blah. But without everybody else, that team would not run. And it just seems a little bit strange to make those redundancies in a week that we're talking about two extremely big pay packets maybe potentially joining the club and one player being given a big pay packet to stay. I just think it stinks. I think it's not good press for Arsenal. And I'd be surprised if Arsenal fans are happy about it because it doesn't sound like the players are. We only know what we can only talk about what's been reported. I don't know if Arsenal have released anything yet to say their side of the story. But it just does not look good for Arsenal in a time period that they should be rebuilding and moving forward. They've just made themselves look like idiots.
I mean, you make some really good points there, but I think what that businessman mate of yours that you're on about, Daz, I think the players are kind of seen as assets, aren't they? You know, when like teams get relegated, what you're going to do? You're going to sell your assets to keep you afloat, and it's like the other way around. But it is harsh. It's harsh as fuck, really. I just don't think it's morally it's incorrect. You know, to let 55 people lose their jobs, especially like you say, bringing in such high earners. And there's some players that already earn so much money there as it is, and it's like, you know, it just don't make sense why you could do that. I mean, they're not exactly struggling; they just won FA Cup. You know, surely that in itself would have paid, like the financial rewards would have paid for at least another year. And say they get a year, they got Europe. So that in itself would pay for all those staff, right? To, you know, maybe see what happens this season. Money might start coming back in if fans eventually allowed back in. Do you know what I mean?
They're claiming that because of the fans, they don't have the money. I don't know much about what they're claiming.
Release a statement.
I did hear something. I don't know how true it is. It was on TalkSport this morning, way to work, and they basically turned around and said I think they've got rid of most of the scouting team, if not all, because they're going to try and go like the same route as Wolves with a super agent. But I don't know how true that is. But
other radio shows are available.
Yeah, other radio shows. but that's what I mean. I don't know how true it was. It was just something that was said. But there's obviously quite a few different like permutations of what it could be. Go on, Des.
I was just going to say they also made. I think it's in the statement that you have there. I think it's directly under that bit that those staff that they will be keeping on will also see reductions in their benefits. So, you know, couldn't they take the benefits off everyone and save a few jobs maybe? Because I think they get a season ticket, one thing and another, and blah blah blah. And yeah.
That's the thing, though, isn't it, Daz? Like, you know, we were talking about Arsenal last time on the first pod, and saying how much of a drain like Ozil is on the club, and it's because of the likes of him that this is sort of thing that's happening. I mean, obviously the coronavirus as well, but at the end of the day, if they didn't have Ozil, if he goes straight away, that could pay for him as well. But it's getting rid of those sort of players, but. I still think that, you know, just winning the FA Cup, the financial rewards would have paid for pretty much all the staff, in my opinion. Depending on what level that they're at. If it's like I say, if it's scouts, it might cost a little bit more. But that's my take on it anyway. So I don't know if you guys got up to add on that.
Could we be potentially seeing the Arsenal last throw of the dice here? Do you reckon? Because they're spending. I mean, that Pepe, is it Pepe? He wasn't cheap. I'm sure he was on like big bucks as well.
He was cheap. This is where we're getting it wrong. Are we now considering Arsenal not to be a rich club? Because Pepe was 72 million over 4 years. Let's say 150k. He was cheap in the scheme of what you would imagine Arsenal to spend. When you look at Man City, Man United, Chelsea, any of these big teams, Tottenham, Spurs are outspending Arsenal now. When you look at it, either something's gone dreadfully wrong business-wise, because this is not a team, to my knowledge, that have never not been rich. The big stadium, the competitions, are they just completely imploding when it comes to a business standpoint?
I think they are.
They're making terrible business decisions. They have done now for a long time, whether it be letting players run down contracts, i.e. Ramsey, or whether it be sales of players that would have been good for the club. Like Rene Adelaide has gone. He's ended up being good. They've made so many mistakes. I don't really understand Arsenal's standpoint anymore when it comes to business. I would have kept the players on. I would have kept all this stuff on just to avoid the PR. This is just makes them look really bad when you're being linked with such big players. And it's just, it really makes you wonder what is going on there at Arsenal. What are they doing? Because relatively, they haven't spent a lot of money. David Luiz was like, 6 or 8 million. Pepe, Tierney, they haven't spent big money compared to anyone. And they're on about spending not that much this year because I don't see them paying much for Coutinho or whether it be a loan and Williams on a free. But why are you paying these big wages to people but not retaining staff members? It seems really strange. If they go down a super agent route, then it's still disgusting that they value the players as assets but not members of the club. You can understand people being made redundant when they can't afford to keep them on. But from a fan perspective, I see no reason why they can't keep these staff members on if they're going to go out and sign these players. It just seems ridiculous to me. Are they not a big club anymore? Are we seeing Arsenal slowly now become a team that's not going to be a big club anymore? And is that the way they're going? Because as far as I'm concerned, they're rich. If they choose not to spend money until they get Champions League football again, that's fine. It's a business model. But behaving as if you're a club in turmoil and having to make people redundant just seems ridiculous. You're making people redundant, but exactly as G says, you've got Ozil there on 350k a week, sat on the bench, doing absolutely jack all, and you're making people redundant. It's just sad. And I feel for Arsenal fans because there's a lot out there that have got a hell of a lot of passion for the club, and whatever they're doing up top, it's a disgrace.
It's like looking at Sanchez. He was the one who ended up going originally. Went to Man U reportedly on that £500,000 a week. They managed to get rid of him today, I think it was. Gone to Inter Milan. But there might have been some sort of financial package. Yeah, they let him go, but financial package is gone. Don't know how much they're saving on wages, whether it's the whole lot or whether they have to pay so much towards it. But at the end of the day, Man United have managed to do something. Even if Arsenal got rid of Ozil for half of that money, that money alone would have paid wages.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand it. I mean, even if you just mutually terminate and cut your losses with him, that in the long run, that money would probably save him a lot of money in the long run, basically. You got out to add, Daz?
No. I mean, I'm sure I saw an article when I'm on my way home from work. I can't remember where it was somewhere, but I'm sure the guy who owns Arsenal owns a plot of land which is bigger than Florida and someone else put together. And if you're an owner of a football club and you have that sort of land and that sort of wealth, I just don't. I think we discussed it in our second pod, in our second chat about people not being able to run clubs properly. And I'm just starting. I don't know. I'm getting this funny feeling that Arsenal maybe are going to become a team that just they're not as big as what they used to be, or they're throwing the dices on the table now and hoping that they're all sixes. And if they don't, come the end of this season, the next season, should I say, we might see a different take on Arsenal in the stance of their players. They might not be able to afford them. There could be a massive financial explosion at Arsenal, let's say. But I mean, let's see what happens in the next 6 months. Let's see, what they decide to do.
Theoretically, I think they could become a selling club. If they're having trouble with money, that might be how I might have to operate until they get back into Champions League. I don't know what you guys, whether you agree with that or not.
No, I agree with you, G. I do think they could become a selling club. As Leeds fans, we know we've been there, we've been up at the top, and I can see Arsenal going the same way that we potentially did if they don't get their finances in check, because I do think that there's something majorly bad at Arsenal.
So that brings us to the end of the episode. Let us know your opinions on what's happening at Arsenal. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Tenacious Chi with the Dazman and Yorkie Man. We'll see you in the next one.